Okay, so welcome everybody to Talking Niagara with me, Peter Giblett, and him, Dave Wheeler. It is Friday, June 13th. Hey, Dave, are you going to go naked down to Port Dover? Because it's Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah, I'll do it right after you do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll be never then. Yeah. No, not that I have a problem with nakedness. I'm just not going to do it in the public street. That's for sure. You know,
Okay.
when I first heard about what was that called? Streaking. When I first heard about streaking when I was like 14 years of age, I got up some bravery to go run in the street at 2 a.m. naked. So I just ran across the street and back again. And that was the limit of my streaking, right? So I'm not streaking any more than that. Did that. That was once done in my life.
Oh, I can't remember. I probably ran around naked somewhere, but I can't remember.
When you were a kid, most likely. Okay, so first thing, a couple of things we got this morning. Morning, everybody, and welcome to the show. Okay, remember when this came from Randy West. Good morning, Peter. Remember when I told you about the validity and ignoring speed camera tickets and for the lack of consequences? The city of Vaughan is now pausing the issuance of such tickets because their cameras have issued more than 32,000 tickets in a month. People are learning that the tickets are of no weight and are disregarding the tickets in their entirety. As I said, I'm not in the photo, therefore the ticket's irrelevant to me when it comes when it comes in the mail. I'm not required or obliged to answer any questions regarding any photo that may allegedly contain my vehicle, is what Randy is saying, taking the view. And the thing is, you're not in the picture.
So that's the whole thing. If you're not in the picture, you can't be held responsible for it.
Well, and they're municipal offences. They're not. I did some looking into this. They're not provincial offences. They're municipal offences.
Yeah, done through a company though, right?
I don't know who they're done through, but
well, it has to be because the city
it's prosecuted by the region.
Okay.
Right.
So
they're by the region.
So they've got nothing. They've got no. So if you decide to ignore it, and they've got nothing to come to you on, right?
Yeah.
Is that what Randy's saying?
Yeah. Essentially, I can neither confirm nor deny that I was in the Dorchester Road area. On Saturday, the 14th of March. And in any case, this looks as if it's somebody it doesn't look like my vehicle. It looks like somebody who's put my number plate on their own vehicle.
Well, and that works.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
All I know is I got one of those tickets. I paid it. I just assumed that it was a valid ticket.
Yeah. And he's saying, and there are no ultimate consequences to be enforced because it cannot come up in your when it comes to your renewal, your license, your renewal. Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, and says don't answer the charge at all is what Randy is saying. Morning, Mike.
So you as a legal guy, have you ever ran across this yet?
I followed this up with when Randy first told me this about 6 weeks ago. I followed this up and I couldn't find anywhere that mentioned these cameras in the Provincial Offences Act, and couldn't find any consequence for non-payment.
There's no other way, no other place you can get that information.
I've not found any legal. I've not, I look up the law. I look it up on the law first, and I've not found, it's a the use of the cameras is purely a regional thing. None of them are actually in the Highway Traffic Act.
Wow.
Right. And actually, Randy's been doing a lot of research into this. And
all right, keep talking. I'm gonna go. My percolator's done.
Mike is saying appeal it at the very least, because they are charging way too much for somebody driving. And Chris Simoni, yes, good morning. You know, for driving 7 miles over the speed limit is ridiculous. And the other one is things like driving in at a non-school time in a school zone and being ticketed for like over 40 kilometers an hour when you're doing 47.
Wow.
Right. So that's kind of the things that have been showing. I'm going to leave it at that because, okay, so Randy's basically saying ontario.ca/laws/regulations/ R1939/8. Right.
Wow, Randy's been doing some. Randy's been doing some homework here.
Finding the information. All right. So
thanks, Randy.
Go look that up. I haven't, other than the initial stuff that I did about 6 or 8 weeks ago when Randy first put this up, I haven't really delved into it any further.
Wow.
All right. I can neither confirm nor deny that my car was there at that particular time.
So if you yourself got nailed with a camera ticket, what would you do?
Well, with this information, I'd be doing nothing. I wouldn't pay the region. I wouldn't. You see, to a large extent, I think it's about there's been allegations around the world that these cameras things have been used to pay the police force, right? I'll leave it there.
Well, tickets do go to pay things, basically. So ticket money does go to pay for things. Police force would be kind of one of the obvious things. Maybe road repair would be another. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. The other thing that's come up, by the way, since we put all this thing together, is there's a new Ed Smith report in the Pointer regarding the cyanamide lands. And
okay, we'll see how Ed Ed was pretty interested. He was the only.
We should cover this Monday.
Yeah, he was the only person from the press there, really.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance.
I was there. I asked questions too, but Ed was the real guy.
Yeah, I haven't had any chance to read this article, so
no, I had that by.
Yeah, so I think we'll leave it till Monday.
Okay. All
right. Yeah. And we'll come back on it on Monday. Thank you, Mike, for that. We'll be taking that on Monday. Okay. So, Boeing 787 Dreamliner in a deadly air crash, 30 seconds after it took off in the Indian city of what's the place called? Ahmedabad, yeah. In the western city.
It was going to be flying to London.
And it was heading to London. It had 242 people on it. One person did not die, but 241 of the 242 did die. There are 169 Indian, 53 British, 1 Canadian, and 7 Portuguese people that died. Well, it was 1 British person that survived.
Yeah.
And his number was
really lucky. He just got really, really lucky. The plane crashed, went up in a ball of flames, and he hit the ground, and he said he started running around bodies and everything. Yeah. The other bodies are so, you know how lucky this is, because the other bodies are nearly unidentifiable. they'd been burnt to a crisp. So he just got thrown out of there.
He was in seat 11A. So what must have happened is the body must have cracked at that point.
It may have, and he got thrown out. I know another incident with this, a guy I worked with in Libya. He was from Spain, and he was on that Air Malaga flight that crashed back in late 1980 or early 1981, where it split in half.
Mm-hmm.
Where the plane split in half, and he where it split in half is where he sat. So he just grabbed the little kid that was beside him, and he and that kid jumped out of the plane, but almost everybody else in the plane got killed.
Yeah,
and it went up in flames.
So
again, it does happen, but I mean, oh man, this guy, like, he really had luck that day, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well, bad luck that he was on the plane, but good luck that he survived it.
Yeah, and again, that must have been what happened here, because takeoff incidents are normally always fatal, 100% fatal normally with takeoff incidents, because what typically must have happened with most takeoff incidents, they basically find that the acceleration of the engine failed for some reason.
Well, the sole survivor, who's laying in the hospital right now, so he did not get away totally unscathed, but it showed him walking, like one of the films showed him walking away from the crash.
Yeah.
So he must have inhaled fumes or whatever. They were keeping an eye on him anyway, so they got him in the hospital. But he said he heard a kind of a boom. He heard a loud noise.
Yeah, that would be consistent. That would be consistent with an engine blowing up.
Possibly, but if you look at the film, you don't see engines blowing up. And usually, one of those engines can really sustain the flight enough for them to land.
It can sustain it once it's up in the air. One engine can sustain it once it's in the air. One engine can't sustain it when it's on takeoff mode. It needs all four engines when it's on takeoff mode.
Or two, whatever, how many that uses that particular plane. That's a Dreamliner, so probably have four.
Yeah, Dreamliners have four, yeah.
So but it came down rather quick.
Yeah.
So you figure if it lost one engine, it would have come down a little bit slower. It could have more controlled. It landed right in the neighborhood. Obviously, the pilot was trying to keep lift going on it, and it crashed right into a neighborhood, and it killed at least 5 people in the neighborhood.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing about this is you were talking about a flight that you knew about out of Libya, right? There was a flight.
No, it wasn't out of Libya. This guy was on his field break at the time, and he happened to fly in or was flying out of Malaga in Spain.
Malaga in Spain, yeah. Okay. The one incident that I know about is there's an airliner that took off westbound out of Heathrow Airport and started to bank about 30 to 40 seconds in, and into the liftoff, and that's pretty normal for airplanes, and then came crashing down into a field in Staines, just in West London.
Anyone survive?
No, it was total devastation.
Well, we were talking about those people who survived.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, so basically this is a 787-8 Dreamliner. They come in different sizes. This is one of the most smallest varieties. Until now, it's had a very long safety record. Could this have been a bomb? Could somebody have gotten a bomb into this plane?
That's always
a possibility. With a plane like this, who's had such a long safety record. I mean, I think they've been in service since 2009, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't know much about the history of the Dreamliner, but I know that they have been around for a while. 787s have been around for a while. Yeah, they've almost
and they haven't had a fatal accident yet. This is the first one.
And the thing
actually, it's called the Dreamliner, and it's not ironic that they call it the stellar safety record. It says here.
Yeah. Thing about this particular plane, this is essentially the modern day 747, isn't it? It's the it's the long haul it's the long haul jet that everybody uses to go when you're going like more than 3,000, 4,000 kilometers. If you're going more than that, and some of the planes, some of the flights we've got are going 14,000 kilometers or more.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Air Canada's got a pile of these. Yeah. So they're very. Oh
yeah.
It says here the first fatal crash of Boeing 787, the first one.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Everything seemed to be all right with it. I wonder what they missed.
Yeah.
Wonder what they missed. They have a procedure. They have to do checks before they take off. I wonder what they missed. The guy said he heard a big noise.
Well,
and then before the plane crashed. So,
good thing is that the air incident people have now got the black box.
Yeah, and Boeing's sending over a team to help the Air India investigators do their the Indian version of air safety.
NTSB,
yeah, take a look at it. So they're going to be scanning all this.
NTSB will likely go over there as well because NTSB tend to be involved in a lot of these things because they've got a lot of expertise.
Well, it's going to be a tough one because it came down and it was full of fuel, obviously, for a big trip. So when it came down, all that fuel burned. The doctors and that are trying to identify the bodies. It's like impossible to identify them. They're all burnt to a crisp, and they're trying to get dental records and things like that, and go through the, try to figure out who is who and what remains belong to who. This may take quite a long time. And the one dentist that died there, she died in that plane from Canada. She was from Mississauga. So her husband and child have gone to India to see if they could collect the remains, but that may be some doing. So they're going to have to rely basically on dental records, and maybe they'll have to switch to DNA if they can extract any. It's going to be a difficult time. Plus, it went down in on a school. I think it was a medical school or pre-medical school or something. And at least five of those students died. There was injuries and other damage around, and that's another problem with this flight. It damaged a bunch of buildings when it came down, so there are dangerous surroundings when you're trying to figure out what's happening.
So what apparently, according to the record, what they're saying here is the Captain Samit Sababal, told the ground, "Mayday, mayday, no thrust, losing power, unable to lift."
Oh, wow.
Right. So I'm presuming that they had their throttles hard up, and that basically nothing was happening. Right. If they're losing power, they will lose lift.
Well, of course.
In takeoff mode.
Right? Of course.
Once you're up in the air at 20,000 odd feet, you can do something about it, but not.
Well, you can't do much. It just gives you more time. You can sort of direct the plane to a certain area. You can maybe direct it towards water or something.
Yeah.
You may be able to slow it down as it comes down, but in this particular case, he didn't have much time, did he?
Yeah. No.
It went up and it came down.
Yeah. 30 seconds. He was probably fighting like mad.
Yeah.
All the flight crew were probably fighting like mad to keep this thing in the air.
Jesus.
Okay. It's sad. Absolutely sad. Oh, come on. Everybody's frozen.
Well, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't do anything. I touch a page, nothing happens.
Oh, well, you got on Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew tours wildfire zones by air.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to move on to, but the thing is dead.
Oh well,
I've got a dead everything. I've got absolutely everything is dead.
No control, eh?
Yeah.
Well, basically, Wab Kinew, who's the premier of Manitoba, is touring around Manitoba by air to see what kind of damage is being done. But it appears that in some places, over next door in Saskatchewan, some of the people are being let back to their homes. They're allowed to return. So they've got some sort of control over. Can you hear me over there?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
But I just get a black box where your face is.
Yeah, I know. I've got the same.
Well, from my point of view, it's a bit of an improvement, but
ooh. All right.
You're back. You're moving anyway. Anyway, they may have a chance to go back to Flin Flon and Thompson. You know, those places are way up north. I mean, Thompson, Manitoba, that's where the mines are.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was nickel mines or what it is, but I mean, that's so far north. The guys in Thompson, Manitoba go south to hunt. That's how far north it is.
Okay. still meaningless to me, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, and the thing is, at the end of the day, it's the Premier doing what the Premier must do, because he must take a look at this stuff and actually get, you know, as kind of the local commander-in-chief, if you like, he's got to be able to actually take a lot of viewpoints and understand where everything is and go look at it.
Well, he's just like our own premier. He's got to be the one that's being informed. He's got to be the one that relays that information.
Yeah,
you know, he is the man in the seat. Of course, he's not out there with the axe and the shovel, trying to fight the flames. He's not the one directing them, but he's there, and he has to coalesce that information and speak on behalf of the province what it's doing, and to inform the people of the province. So basically, he's doing his job.
Yeah, and without taking the flight, without going looking, you really wouldn't know about what's going on, right?
So he's gone up there. He's seen for himself what's happening. He can report back to his cabinet, everything like that. And and meanwhile, then he'll have to get all the
sorry. His duty is actually to make sure that the right people get to the right point at the right time in order to do whatever rescue work is necessary, and, you know, whatever they can, if rescue is needed, and whatever they can to put these fires out.
Yeah, and try to get people back home.
Yeah.
I think they got in Saskatchewan, there was about 15,000 people that they can now tell to go back home now. So they've got control of some of it. In Manitoba, though, I think there's still going to be like 21,000 people in Manitoba that are still going to be displaced. There's not going to be enough room for them. They've actually talked to the tourist board and tried to discourage tourism in Manitoba until this is all done, because they need the hotel rooms for people that are displaced.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what else we got? We know what's going on there. It's bad fire season, and it's lipping into Ontario. So I don't know when this is going to end. We need a good drenching rainfall, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we're too far into summer now to actually get the drenching rainfall, aren't we? Iranian commanders blow up blown up in their beds by Israeli drones launched by commandos on a secret airbase in Israel. And this comes according to the Daily Mail, UK Daily Mail.
Okay, we know that Israel struck Iran. So the United States did not come up with some kind of deal with Iran. So it kind of looked the other way with Israeli strikes. It has washed its hands of these strikes. It said, this is Israel, that's not us. So when you counterattack, don't counterattack us, or there's going to be trouble, because we didn't have anything to do with it. I find that that's very, very difficult. I think a lot of their intelligence, Israeli intelligence, is so high a level, I can't really see them doing it without the United States cooperation. In fact, the United States feeding them. In this particular operation, just like all the other stealth moves they did against Hezbollah, they took out Iranian commanders who would have been protecting themselves. They took out Iranian scientists, nuclear scientists, 4 of them, who would have been protecting themselves, who would have been in places where they were protected.
Yeah.
So how did they find them? How did they find the Iranian commanders? How did they find these nuclear scientists? They found them.
That all comes down. Yeah, that all comes down to intelligence, doesn't it?
Yes, but the amount of intelligence when you're Iran and you know they're coming for you, and you know it. Yeah, you know you've got a target on your back.
Yeah.
How do you know? How come you cannot find a place to be protected? You can't. It's like when they killed Soleimani, basically. How did they know? Well, it was American intelligence found him, and they're going to do the same thing here. The American intelligence are going to feed the Israelis. The Israelis have got a lot of their own, own capabilities. They've got spies and all kinds of things in Iran, all sorts of operatives. But when it comes to some of the real serious stuff, the satellites that was required, the tapping of phones and all this other stuff, they have to be relying on the States for a lot of it. Although their capability for stealth is unbelievable. When they put bombs in every one of those pagers in Lebanon, how the hell did they do that? They had to go use a Korean company that was making them in Hungary and somehow get the bombs in every one of those pagers that were going to go to Hezbollah operatives, and then find its opportune time to explode
the
them.
Interesting
the kind of coordination and capability is unbelievable.
Yeah. The key factor about the pagers is that they're, these days they're quite low tech, aren't they?
Well, that was the whole point. That was the whole point why Hezbollah used the low tech ones. They figured it'd be harder for the Israelis to track them. But
there's no digital tracing going on.
Yeah, so they basically we go to we go to the low tech beepers. But somehow, like, you think of the capability that the stealth that had to happen there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A Korean pager being manufactured in Hungary, and they managed to get the explosive devices in every one of them that went to a Hezbollah person.
Yeah. Well, Washington has distanced itself from the attack, but Tehran has already warned the US that it will pay a heavy price along with Israel.
Well, that's all just
Tehran already knows who's responsible.
Look, they absolutely know the United States has fed them all kinds of information.
Yeah.
But the level of this sort of surveillance that they have, and sort of spy networks they have, both technical and human, is staggering. The Iranians, the Hezbollah, everybody must be thinking, there's nowhere I can go without being exploded. I mean, they took the 4 top nuclear scientists, so they claim. They've killed 4 nuclear scientists. So you know that those 4 nuclear scientists would be in protected areas, wouldn't you?
Well, and also,
anyway.
Yeah, and also Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander Hussein Salami was among the military leaders killed, and again he would be heavily protected.
You would think so. You'd think they would be very, very careful what they do, and knowing what the capability of Israel is. U.S. supported Israel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yet, even then, even knowing that there's a big target on their back, Israel's still being able to find them. So how are they doing it? That's my question. And obviously, Iran has no answers. Hezbollah has no answers. When they have to blow up a ammo depot, they find it and blow it up. How'd they find it? These things are. Yeah. People aren't stupid about these things. Here are my weapons. I keep them right here. No, they don't do that. They hide them. And yet Israel can find them. So can the States. I don't know. I don't know if this will escalate. If Iran chooses, it could flood Israel with all kinds of missiles and bombs. But it's probably being told by the United States, you do that and you're finished. But how much is Iran going to be able to take? Israel wants their nuclear capability to be done. So all they're doing though is really stalling it off. Do they know where all of it's being made? Where all of the siphons are for making a nuclear bomb? They're supposed to have enough for 10 bombs now, but they don't have the delivery system. So I don't know.
Well, but there's a whole heap of difference between nuclear power and nukes used for weapons, for weaponization.
Well, it's the big difference is the level of refinement of uranium or plutonium.
Yeah. You have to go up.
If you refine it, you don't have to refine it very much. Like the stuff that's going into our nuclear reactors can explode.
Yeah.
Because you have to have 2 pieces of critical mass, and it has to be very well refined. But what it can do, you can refine it to where the point where the unstable atom keeps breaking down and causing the other atoms to split, which releases heat, and there where you can capture that heat and drive a steam boiler.
Yeah.
And which would drive steam turbine, man. I mean,
okay. They've killed some pretty influential people. Another one of these is Iranian Revolutionary Guard Air Force Brigadier General Amir Ali Hijazadeh. So he was killed in this airstrike. Another one you'd think would be protected, right?
Yeah, and the Ayatollah himself they could probably take him out if they wanted to. They probably know where he is. They could probably take him out, just like they did to the leader of Hezbollah. They could probably take him out, but right now they know the guy's a backward old man, and it's to their best interest to keep him in because you don't want somebody capable and modern in that job. You don't. So you leave that guy in.
Yeah.
Plus,
and there's been some fairly, for example, they bombed high-rise buildings in Tehran after, several high-rise buildings. They've taken out essentially 1 or 2 apartments in one particular building. And there's another building where the entire thing has collapsed.
Well, that's the Israelis for you. If they want one guy in that apartment building, they'll destroy the whole apartment building and everybody in it, if they have to, because the ends justify the means. That's the way they play the game. You can see how they're doing it in Gaza, and how they did it in Lebanon. But right now, right now the Israelis are really, really top shape, and it's not because they have a whole lot of military. They have a fair amount of military. It's not just because they have endless supplies of weapons that come with no questions asked from the United States. It's because of this. It's mostly because of their stealth, their spy networks and things. It's just amazing to me that they are so much ahead of their enemies in spying technology. It, like, when you're knocking out the chief commanders in Iran, the chief nuclear scientists in Iran, look what they did to Hezbollah. How do they know where these people are? And remember, with Hamas's political negotiator in Tehran, right in Tehran, in a highly secure building, they put a bomb in the guy's bed.
Yeah. Well, for many decades now, we have known that Mossad is one of the world's greatest information gatherers, and they don't.
How do they get such a leg up? You would think they might be a little bit better. You might think they have an advantage.
When it came
it's like a professional football team playing a good high school team.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
but when it came to, for example, when it came to 9/11, Mossad had been telling the CIA that 9/11 was going to happen. They obviously didn't know the date, but the CIA wasn't listening to them.
Well, lots of people told them about 9/11. Lots of people told them about it. They told themselves about it. Their own operatives knew it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but nobody was listening.
Yeah, they were listening. That's what everybody thinks. No one was listening, but they were listening. If you follow history like I do a lot of times, you'll find that there were actually people being alerted at the time. We don't know, something's going to happen, and it's going to be big, and we don't know when it's going to happen or where it's going to happen. All we know is there's something big going to happen. And they just didn't know where. They knew the West was going to be attacked, probably the United States, but they just didn't know where or when. And when the planes crashed into buildings, then they knew. But they expected something from the outside. They had already planted these guys inside. So that was the difference, I think. So they expected something. They might not have expected the Twin Towers.
Yeah, but you see, Mossad has more information gathering in the Middle East than any other organization.
Well, it also has great abilities to operate. Like I said before, that's you wouldn't expect any one of the belligerents to be so much better in any one field than the other. You know, when Pakistan and India go to war, well, you think maybe India's got the edge, but Pakistan's not so bad. So, you're pretty close there. Even though the Israel is supplied constantly with information and weapons by the United States, you think, well, yeah, it has an edge over its opponents, but not that much of one.
Okay, Chris here asked, what would happen if all the hostages were released? Very good question. Nothing. I think that the IDF, Israel don't want it. They're just going to go on business as normal.
I think Netanyahu likes the fact that there's still hostages. It gives him an excuse to do what he's doing there. If he really wanted the hostages, he would call a ceasefire and arrange it, but he doesn't. He needs that as an excuse to keep going. Sadly enough, I mean, the guy is ruthless. He's a ruthless Machiavellian. He has, and he's taken this opportunity to beat the Palestinians into dust. And I think his, if Yahya Sinwar were still alive, Netanyahu would send him a Christmas card every year, because he did exactly what he wanted him to do, or I don't know, whatever, Yom Kippur card or whatever it was.
Yom Kippur card, yeah.
Hanukkah was the thing that happens around
Hanukkah,
Christmas.
yeah. Hanukkah would be Christmas time, yeah.
So there you go. Like I think he loves it. What's going to happen? People like Ben Gvir and Smotrich, they're extremists. They were followers of Rabbi Kahane, who is an extremist settler Zionist. I don't see anything. If they could get look what the United States did. It didn't bother with the Israelis for a ceasefire. It went to Hamas and bargained for the one remaining American that was still alive as a hostage. So they went to them and they said, look, we're not going to get anywhere with Israel, so we'll bargain with you. And they got it. And Israel is really angry about that because it made Israel made it very clear to anyone who had a family with a hostage in Israel still left that if the Americans could do it, we could do it. But where's the will?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Moving on.
Remember, they have that. What's not often talked about lately, the Hannibal Directive. The Israelis have long said that after that one, there was one soldier that was held for 5 years, and it cost them a lot of money, and it cost them a lot of time, and it cost them lots of hostages to get this kid back. They held him for 5 years. After that, they started talking about the Hannibal Directive. And then thereafter, when somebody was captured, the next time someone was captured and they had a rough idea where he was, they blew the place to smithereens. They knew they were going to kill their own soldier, but it took the advantage away from the insurgents. And look what happens also in Algeria. As soon as you get a terrorist taking a place, it doesn't matter how many civilians they hold hostage. The Algerian army just wipes out everybody. Terrorists, anybody, it just wipes them out. And that's a message for the terrorists. If you hold hostages, it's not going to work. Yeah, we're going to kill you. We'll have to kill the hostages too, but we're going to kill you.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, I'm just reading about Hannibal Directive, and it was instituted in 1986 by the IDF, and not surprising that they've taken such an approach, really.
Yeah, and that was the source of many of the people who died.
I remember
who died they were on motorcycles and cars going back from Israel into Gaza. Some of those people died. The IDF killed them using the Hannibal Directive. So we were told. Yeah. But there's a and some of the people in the villages and the kibbutzes, they were killed too the same way. When the IDF came in and Hamas was held up in a house or something like that, and they had hostages, the IDF just blew the crap out of the whole house.
Yeah, and that's been effective. We've seen that since the development of this particular Gaza war since October 7th, 23, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to our last topic of the day, Project Ontario. Doug Ford is being they're pushing Doug Ford to be more fiscally conservative.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? I didn't read much of it except that there's a group of conservatives.
They call themselves Project Ontario, Protect Ontario. Sorry.
Well, I think it's an unfortunate name.
Yeah.
I think they have to change their name because it harkens to Project 2025 in the United States. So Project 2025 has a lot more to do than just fiscal responsibility.
Well, that's
a lot to do with political rearrangements of the government. This by conservatives. This is the way I understand it is just conservatives wanting the Conservative Party to be more fiscally responsible with the tax dollar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, but they have to change their name because they're going to get painted with a bad, even if they have no association at all with Project 2025, the whole idea that it's Project Ontario, the project part there, particularly when such a controversial plan like Project 2025 is on the table. Project 2025 was masterminded by conservatives. So, and now we have this conservative group asking the conservatives to be more like conservatives. So they're going to have to get rid of that project name.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they haven't already.
Well, there's also a Project Ontario website, which is what they're putting out is, is for this. Yeah, when they're saying when conservatives lose their principles, Ontario loses its way. Right. So they're looking at Doug Ford to go back.
Yeah, I still say the name is problematic.
Yeah.
Their efforts may not be, though. They want. They say here, when conservatives lose their principles, Ontario loses its ways. Let's change course, says the website.
Yeah. Well, for example, what they're saying is, despite having some of the highest taxes in North America, Ontario carries the largest subnational debt in the world.
Yes, and why is that? Who built that debt up? It was the Liberal government under McKinsey and Wynne, and they were warned. They were warned in that by the Drummond Report way back in 2007, I think.
But in all
2005, they were warned, if you keep doing that, you're going to make Ontario's debt incredible. Well, they did, and then along came COVID and made it worse. So yeah, I agree with them. Let's pay down this debt if we can, but can they?
But in 2018, everything since 2018 is on Doug Ford.
You can't put COVID on him.
True.
COVID was a big price tag.
COVID was a big
like he wasn't being prior to that. He was not being successful in paying down the debt, although he said he was going to. Yeah. He wasn't really that too successful. Then along comes COVID. There's now another enormous bill that has to be paid. He inherited one from the Liberals, and now he's got the COVID one. I would like to see him reduce the amount of be more fiscally responsible, but at this particular time, how can he be that way?
Yeah,
and especially now we're in a tariff fight, so that's going to cost us more money too, because we're going to have to subsidize workers so they don't lose their jobs. It's like when you put yourself into debt, when you come across a real problem and you have to go into more debt, I mean, that's deadly. I mean, we're running these huge debts, and then we run into things like wars, tariffs, and pandemics. Now we're really shot. How are we supposed to pay any of that back when we first have a pandemic, and now we got a tariff war? Now, he says Ford is the most popular conservative in Canada by a country mile, says here.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out. There's long been a Doug Ford's Ontario rump of conservatives who are deeply unhappy with the way he governs. Well, yeah, maybe, but he's the guy that can get elected. He's proven it.
Well, actually, there's also a lot of non-conservatives who would traditionally not vote for Ford, not vote for any conservative who support Ford.
Well, there's all kinds of complaints about Ford here, and these conservative, the Project Ontario, whatever. It seems to me on the face of it, they're mostly concerned with the fiscal responsibility part, the money that the government's paying out, and and how to retract that and get back to more very conservative values. But right now, the province seems to be in a good place. You have a vocal leader who stands up against Trump, who used to like Trump and then turned on him as soon as Trump got goofy with Ontario. So you got a pretty strong leader. He's vocal across Canada. He's smart enough to get on American networks. So when the people see that, I think they feel pretty comfortable with that. Now,
but again, what they're
Who do you judge his conservativeness?
Yeah, and what they're pointing out in this, and it's something you and I have pointed out, is stagnant productivity and weak economic growth. We've been talking about that over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's a Canadian-wide problem, not just Ontario.
No, it's not just Ontario, but it's felt worse in Ontario because at one point, Ontario used to be the manufacturing center of Canada.
Well, it suffered the same thing that the United States did on a whole. Like we lost manufacturing. We lost a lot of manufacturing in the early 2000s. Yeah. It left the province like crazy. It turned machinists into appliance salesmen, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And there's no market, you know, that kills the market.
Yeah.
And yet of course, the other ones that they're talking about is things like a housing crisis, it's a housing market that's in crisis, and, you know, and flight of talent. Now, I hear this.
Well, all of these things, I don't know if you can really park them in front of Ford. Like, yeah. He may have been able to do better to stop all of this, or maybe have done slightly better in the budgeting and whatever else. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about his policies here, and I'm not trying to defend him, but I'm just saying that if these people have this Project 20, Project Ontario, has these ideas of conservatism and how Doug Ford should comply more with the ideals of conservatism, then you're going to have to come up with better details and why you would think what he's doing now would be better if he did.
Yeah.
He's a governor. His first and foremost thing is to govern Ontario. If he looks at everything he does and looks under it with a conservative, idealistic view, he wouldn't get anything done.
Well, one of the things that's pointed out by this is flight of talent. We're seeing troubling talent,
and that could be parked in front of Doug Ford.
Well,
is that his fault?
Let me finish. Flight of talent. Okay. We're seeing a troubling trend: young people leaving Ontario for other provinces across the border, drawn by better opportunities and more affordable lives. This brain drain is a stark warning sign that we're failing to provide the environment necessary for the next generation to succeed, right? Where's the proof in all of this? There's no cold, hard facts that anybody is leaving Ontario. In fact, the numbers of millionaires in Ontario is growing.
Well, I come back to my original question. How is that Doug Ford's problem?
And again, yeah, you're right. How is that Doug Ford's problem?
And how could it be fixed with a more conservative approach that Project Ontario suggests? How would that hold talent here from leaving?
Yeah, that's absolute fair question, because I don't know the answers are actually included here.
Economy and opportunity is what drives those things. My son worked in Seattle for 7-8 years. Nothing wrong with that, because basically, so he was working with Microsoft, I take it. Oh, he did a bunch. He did like all those, all of them do. He worked for Microsoft, then he went to Oracle, then he went to Google, then he went into a contract. These guys all bounce around. Yeah. But now he's settled in with Ford Canada for now, so he could come home, because I asked him to come home because things were getting too goofy in Seattle. They had those walled off areas where the where the citizens
wasn't safe. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So it looks stupid. It still does. So that it's all come.
The trouble is when I hear things like, I'm going to quote this one for a second, and it applies to okay, grassroots movement of conservatives, grassroots movement of liberals, grassroots movement of NDPers, right? Usually it's not a grassroots movement. It's one or two people putting their idea up.
Well, why then did they make it? Why then did they make it to the paper? If they're just a couple of people coming up with their own ideas, how come they made it to the paper? Why did the newspaper here even pay attention to them?
Yeah. Well, there's information about this published in the Hub, and the Hub, of course, is a think tank, isn't it?
Well, it says here there's the conservatives are a bit of a quandary because they got more seats than they ever did since 1980, since the 80s, and they did not form the government. And Poilievre, their leader, didn't even get a seat. And yet that was, in all other measures, that was quite a success to get that many seats. And then, but Ontario, a different kind of conservative, Ford, won handily, hands down, and has become a very prominent leader nationwide. Very unusual for a premier to become nationwide popular. So among the conservatives, they don't know what to do. The guy they liked, Poilievre, didn't really do any good. The guy they're criticizing, Ford, does very, very well. What's your problem?
And here also, I raise the question again. At some point, is the Conservative Party going to make the decision that they're going to get rid of Poilievre and look for a new leader? And would one of the candidates be Doug Ford?
Yes, it could be, but not yet. He's got to wait for
not yet. In time.
He's got to wait for Carney to fail. Like Carney's got a lot of projects, a little irons in the fire. If he starts becoming very successful or perceived to be successful, no other party would have a chance. Particularly at this crossroads in Canada's history, when we're being threatened by the big goon down south. And until that orangutan falls from the tree, I don't think you'll see a whole lot of upset in government. Eventually, I could see Doug Ford moving into the conservative boots and be an international leader.
All I can say, Dave, is orangutan pride.
Yeah. Well, I was at a Laugh Your Socks Off last night. I was one of the acts. There was we had 12 acts, 12 or 13 acts. I was one of them. Our very own from Honeymoon City Toastmasters, Brenda Ballinger, killed it. She was insanely funny. I didn't see that coming at all. I mean, she could be pretty funny at times, but she killed it. She killed the audience. I found her to be the best act. But the opening act of that thing, the whole thing of the opening act was a guy, and he was talking about being a grumpy old man and stuff like that. And one of the suggestions was to have a bunch of Canadian dog owners feed their dogs high fiber food, go to Washington and let them poop on White House lawn, and see if Trump would put a tariff on it.
So what was this event you were at last night?
It's a Laugh Your Socks Off event that's put on by Niagara on the Lake Toastmasters.
Oh,
but it's open to everybody. Our Toastmaster group was there. We had 3 speakers. We were supposed to have 4, but one got sick. But and I'm telling you, Brenda came out of nowhere. Now she's pretty good. I've seen lots of her humor speeches, and they've been, pretty good, and all the other acts were pretty ordinary. Well, not ordinary, but you got a good chuckle out of them. But Brenda came up with something that just killed it.
I love Brenda because actually Brenda's one of these people. It's like she came to Toastmasters first of all as I'm the mother of, two other Toastmasters, right? I didn't think they even come to Toastmasters anymore, do they?
No, they don't. And she continues.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I drove up with them. I drove up her husband, and one of the other speakers, Charlene. And we went up, and so I did my act early. They did their acts in the second half, but the second to last act was Brenda, and she just killed it. She just she won over everybody. She made nobody laugh near as much as anyone. She came up with this cat lady routine that she had, and oh my God, it was hilarious. And it was really a whole lot more original than anyone else's. And so the final act was the professional, the guy that did this. Well, not a professional, but he was much more experienced at this. He's done stand up a lot. So he had a pretty long and pretty full routine, but he had a hard act to follow. After Brenda, he got some laughs, but nothing like Brenda did. And it was just a really hard act to follow. Mm-hmm. And Brenda's a bit of a sleeper there. Like I've heard her speak. I've heard her give comedy. Her and I were teamed up in a comedy routine one time. Mm-hmm. And it went fairly well, but she really killed it this time, I'm telling you.
It's funny. I've never considered myself a comedy speaker, but I've made some people laugh over time.
Well, it's the way you look, I think.
Yeah. When I notice that what it is I make cynical remarks. It's
maybe
that causes the humor.
Well, if you go look in the mirror right now, you might start chuckling. Well, it's just your looks, man.
Well, especially when it's self-deprecating cynicism.
Yeah, that's good. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. I think we're done for the day.
Yes, we are. We're done for the week.
I'm done for the week, yeah.
And you're gonna bail next week on Thursday and Friday, right?
Yeah. Okay. But we'll deal with the Pointer article on Monday, okay? Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, it gives us a chance to look at it.
Yeah, because and thank you, Mike, for all of that. I'll have a look at the article during the weekend, and we'll go from there. All right. So, Dave.
Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Remember Gaza. Do not forget it. There are people dying there and are suffering terribly, and the West